Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg, and this is Ger Can Get It. This week, I don't know, man, more puppets that kill. Honestly, I don't fucking why.
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to sucking face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Garrick can get it. Garrick can get it.
Goddamn, I thought we were
But
done
they're
with
the
puppets.
better version. They're the better version of puppets that kill, though, because these didn't fuck anybody. At least not that I know of. I don't know. She's screaming quite a bit at the end there.
I would like to say that, like, the last three things that we've watched, I chose them, and you didn't seem to enjoy them very much, and I felt bad. I was like, oh, these are not the highlights of Ger's career. I feel bad that these are not his better properties. And you were like, oh, for spooky season, we should watch Trilogy of Terror. So I blame you for this. I don't take any guilt. I don't have any guilt for this.
It had to happen eventually, Meg. At least it happened in a seasonally appropriate time.
I guess. I think because I'm slow at timing, I think this will come out like November 2nd-ish. It'll come out like right after Halloween. So you'll get your candy and your alcohol and your slutty witch costumes. You'll get all that out of your system, and then you'll get to tune into us talking about fucking rubber rats. I don't
who make a rubber squeaky sound. They're like and which I was like, were the puppets just really loud? And they figured, well, fuck it. I guess that's what the rats sound like, because it really sounds like rubber squeaking together. And they're clearly rubber, like rubber puppets.
They're so bad. So the first time I watched this, I didn't realize that Ger's only in 1/3 of this.
Well, I feel like Trilogy of Terror is like, if you know horror, you are aware of Trilogy of Terror because the first one came out in the 70s.
So the only reason that I am aware of Trilogy of Terror 1 is because Trilogy of Terror 2 exists. And then when I was Googling stuff to make notes of this episode, they're like, oh yeah, the original one is a very famous movie from the 70s. And like, it's very well received. And I was like, oh, so like Hypercube, Ger saw a really good property and they threw him into the worst sequel of it. This poor man, I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts, but, where was I going with that? Oh, so the first time I watched this, I didn't realize that he was only in 1/3. Like, I didn't understand the conceit of it. So I watched the whole thing all the way through. I do not recommend it for reasons I'll get into in a second. I mean, I sort of wish you didn't watch either of the other two, right? I don't think you did.
I have seen the original Trilogy of Terror. I did not watch this entire one. No.
I will tell you why I have thoughts on it in a second. But I watched it all the way through the first time to see if he was in the other two parts. He's not. So if you really want to see Ger, if you really want to like see his whole thing, see his whole oeuvre, like everything that he's ever been in, if you want to watch Trilogy of Terror, I don't know. I couldn't think of the word. His whole, his complete
be us
filmography. Yeah. You can watch the first third. You don't have to, he's not in the other 2/3. That's not me spoiling anything. They're three separate stories where it's the same main actress in all three of them, but she plays a different character. So you could feel confident watching the first one and then stopping. But I was so pissed off about these goddamn rubber rat puppets and the rubber man corpse that they will rubberly chew on in a second that I went all the way to the end credits tonight. Like, so the movie, they do a weird thing where each individual segment has its own little title card or its own little like name on the screen while stuff is happening. And they will have the names of like the big actors who are in each section kind of pop up like if you were watching a TV show, but then the like overall credits are not till the very, very end. So I scrolled to the very, very end to see if like the Jim Henson Company was involved in this. And they were not, because they would have done a quality rubber rat, is all I'm saying. They would have been a much more effective.
Rizzo.
Yeah. A remake of this with Rizzo, I would watch it. I would pee my pants. That would be
way better.
Or a remake of this. Better. Hear me out. A remake of this where everyone, including the rats, is a Muppet except for Ger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ger is just hardcore making out with a hand puppet. I would watch that. I'm not proud of myself.
Gonzo is the asshole rich guy.
Or Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. I feel like I feel like he's a sweet character,
Sam
but
Eagle.
like physically. Sam Eagle. Yes, correct. No, that's a much better choice. Sam Eagle. Yeah. I like that you automatically had the correct Muppet names like ready to go. I appreciate that dedication.
I love the Muppets.
So I scrolled to the end because they're Muppety they're like vaguely Muppety in that they're like soft and they're like squishy. And I feel like the Jim Henson Company could have been involved. It's that kind of creation. And I went to the end and it's one guy. If I remember correctly, his name is Frank Carrero. Don't hold me to that. But it was like one guy named Frank. And the one guy named Frank made all the little rubber rat puppets. And the rat human corpse. I'm more upset by the rat human corpse. We're going to get there. Okay.
Yeah, well, this is directed by Dan Curtis. He did Dark Shadows.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what the hell happened?
I don't know. I was like, oh, Dan Curtis. I know that name. And I looked it up and...
But speaking of people that Rachel knows, let me make sure that I get the name right because I don't want to spoil the one moment of triumph where I know a thing that you don't know.
Is this about the guy who's he's the grave robber? He's also the grave robber in the 1970s Salem's Lot.
No, I had no idea. You went on that point.
Okay.
No, this is so the lady who is the main character in all three short films that make up the Trilogy of Terror. Her name is Lizette Anthony. Do you know what else you've seen her in, Rachel?
She looked really familiar, but I did not look it up. Crawl? She's in
She was in Crawl, which you mentioned like every week. You're like, Crawl this, Crawl that. Like the sound is from Crawl that. What? I was like, oh, holy shit, this girl was in Crawl. Like Rachel's going to know it. And then you didn't immediately text me. And I was like, yes, I have a secret. But
it's because she looks so different in Crawl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Does she have brown hair in Crawl?
She has red curly hair and she's dubbed.
Oh, why?
I don't know. They wanted her to have a British accent. And so they were like,
okay.
don't
well,
fucking
then
try.
I'm going to double blow your mind. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
She's English. She's English. I had no idea because in all three sections, she does an American accent and she does a good job, like a fine job. She's English. And do you know what I have seen her in? One of my favorite movies, Dracula Dead and Loving It. She plays Lucy Westenra in like you would not know that because in Dracula Dead and Loving It, she has this giant curly brown Victorian wig.
Yeah.
And her real English accent. She looks totally different. I had no idea. I was like, oh my God, you're in a good thing. I don't feel so bad now that you're in this schlock because you will make it. Like your career will be good.
I never recognize her in anything else, specifically because she looks so different in Crawl than she looks in. And she's in Crawl, but she's in Crawl for like 2 seconds.
Look, I'm not judging you. I was just happy to know somebody one time.
Because she gets kidnapped almost immediately. No, it's fine. I just, I have to like remind myself that she's in Dracula Dead and Loving It every single time. Because she's like 18 in Crawl. She's 30, I think, in Dracula Dead and Loving It.
She looks so different. But in the, so I saw an interview clip with her from maybe the last 10 years or so. And she looks exactly the same as she does in this, in Trilogy of Terror. Like, I think she naturally is a blonde with kind of shortish hair. And she still looked great. Like but I could tell that current her was the same her as in Trilogy of Terror. If I showed you a picture of her in Dracula Dead and Loving It, right. She just looks like a totally different person. But I like that she and Ger both get to be hot vampires in their careers. I like that it's all coming together on my vision board.
Yes, they get to be in Dracula properties, both of them.
Oh, they do? Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, Klaus and Lucy Westenra. Yeah. The love that was never to be. Oh my God. So I'm really I'm hemming and hawing about the plot of this movie.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
I know, but I hate it. I hated this so much.
There's a Ger sex tape. Come on, Meg.
I hated I hated every moment of this.
I love the Ger sex tape. I was like, I want a Ger sex tape. Release the tape. And it's the most clothed, sexy. Okay, go ahead.
I have so many thoughts on it, especially how close the cameraman is. But I will get there in 3 seconds because we will hear about this in 3 seconds. So the basic premise of Trilogy of Terror is that there are just these 3 separate little baby horror stories. And I know you don't want me to talk about the other 2. I want to talk about them so fast. The third one doesn't.
The other 2. I just was telling you I'm not going to watch them.
No, you didn't. No, not watching them was smart. But I have thoughts. So the third one, the final part of the movie, there's a little African fetish doll is what they call it. And it comes to life in a museum, and it chases this scientist lady around who is Lizette Anthony, the main actress and everything. And at the end, she thinks that she's killed it, but like the demon spirit possesses her, and then she starts killing people. Blah, blah. Who cares? It's like, it's so surface level. There's nothing to discuss.
That's from the original Trilogy of Terror.
That they had mentioned that in the Wikipedia, that it was like meant to echo that. The only thing, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because I didn't watch this again because it was garbage. If I remember correctly, I think they filmed those museum scenes at the ROM because they had to get all their Canada worth out of this.
Yeah.
So that's the third part. So the reason I'm mentioning that is if you are looking for the DVD, the cover has this weird, freaky little like fetish doll. And when I tell you about the Ger story, you're going to be like, there's no fetish doll. Why is the cover of this a fetish doll? So that's how you know. And side note to the side note, this piece of shit is only available as a Blu-ray. This thing cost me like $48. It is so bad. It is so not worth $48. I will, if you're at home and you're like, God, I want to watch this, just email me. I will send you for free my DVD, my Blu-ray. I'm sorry, not DVD because that would have been affordable. My Blu-ray. I will send it to you. I hate it so much. I'm so mad about it. So expensive.
Why does this have a Blu-ray release and Forever Night doesn't have a Blu-ray release?
Because God is dead, Rachel. God is dead. I'm so mad about. Like I know that I did this to myself. I was like, hey Rachel, what if? Hear me out. We buy everything he's ever been in, and we talk about all of it once a week until we die. And I'm mad every week when it's expensive and it's bad. Like I'm like surprised to myself. Anyways, so. It's only a Blu-ray, and the cover has a weird, freaky little sort of, you know, when you're looking at something and you're like, is this racist? And you're like, you're not sure where to land. That's what this thing looks like on the cover. So just if you see that and you really want to buy this, that's the right thing. The Trilogy of Terror #2, not the good one, the #2 one. So that's the third story. Who gives a shit? The second story is the same lady. She plays a woman whose son has died. And I think the son is meant to be like 12 or 13. Like that thing where you're little, but you're technically a teenager. Like that's what the son looks like. He has died. And at first, all we know is that he drowned. Like that's all we hear, just drowned. So we think it's an accident. And then she does that thing where you try and like, you put a big like pentagram on the floor and you spill some blood or whatever, and you try and like bring the soul of your deceased family member back to life. It's one of those. Okay.
I love how you preface that with, you do the thing where you put the like, the thing.
It's such a trope. It's such a well-worn trope. And we've all been there. We've all done that. So and she's in a really big fancy mansion, and they're like by the sea, and it's like I don't know where they filmed this, but it's really pretty. I would stay there. I would stay at the Airbnb of the second of the Trilogy of Terror short episodes because it was really nice looking. But anyways, so she brings the soul back, and there's like there's like a big storm, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden there's like this little body that it is her son's body, and he's like, oh hi mommy, and then he immediately becomes evil and starts like chasing her and trying to kill her, blah blah blah, and
obviously,
yeah. And so then it turns out that it is not her son. It is a demon in the shape of her son, which they could have like left it there because I feel like that's a story that we've all seen. Just demon, like you thought you were bringing home Bobby. The little boy's name is Bobby. You thought you brought Bobby home, and really you brought home Beelzebub. Like, like what are we gonna do? No, this is so dark because it turns out, if I remember correct, so I know that the kid didn't actually die by accident. And my recollection is that the kid killed himself to get away from his mother, whom he hated, because the little like short segment ends with the demon going like, not just like, I decided to come instead of your son. Like you thought you were calling one number and you called the wrong number and I picked up. Like, no, it's like Bobby heard you calling and Bobby went, fuck no, I hate her. Hey, demon, go in my place.
Oh.
Dead, suicidal 13-year-old sends a demon back from hell to fuck with his awful mother. So much to pull apart there. I can't imagine making that movie today or like that short TV movie, because this was a TV movie. I don't know if I mentioned that. It'll be clear in a second. This was a made-for-TV movie. But like, oh my God. 13-year-old killed himself and then won't come to see you. Like, killed himself because of you. was so like distraught because of you. That's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard. That's the terror. That's the most horrifying thing I've ever heard. That's so dark. That is darker than anything in Forever Night. And they had people slitting their wrists in bathtubs once a week.
Yeah.
I feel like that was effective in terms of terror, but like not at all. Not in the ways that the filmmakers thought at all. They just like threw out the way that things in the 90s did. They just threw out like, here's a horrifying, fucked up thing that like they didn't think was horrifying and fucked up at all. And they're like, no, but spooky demons. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about spooky demons. You give me a suicidal 13-year-old who drowned himself. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of ways to kill yourself as a 13-year-old boy, you drowned
suicide
yourself.
was just like a plot point. In the 90s. They're
Yeah.
like, well, what if, I don't know. Yeah, well, how are they going to die? Oh, they'll commit suicide. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you want cheese in that sandwich? Yeah, why not throw suicide in there? Like, just did not register at all. And I was watching it and I was like, oh, shit. Oh, fuck. So I might actually rewatch that one just to see what I think about it again. But like, that one stayed with me. The Ger one, I have now watched 3 times. Each time it leaves me like a spirit. It's just gone. So we're going to do what we can. Okay, the Ger one. It's called Graveyard Rats, which I think you can probably guess is because we can't shut up with these fucking plastic rubber rats. I hate them so much. These giant puppets.
I almost wish that this had a different title because the whole time I was like, oh, there's going to be rats in the graveyard because it's called Graveyard Rats. If they'd called it like Greed or the Golden Pocket Watch or something like that, I'd have been like, ooh. But instead I was like, oh, she's gonna get eaten by rats.
Right? They telegraphed this very, very directly. Like there are no surprises in this. Except I will say I do probate cases like 12 of them a week, every single week. It took me 3 times of watching this to try and figure out what the fuck they were talking about with the dead man's estate, which could be because I'm dumb. But I think I'm gonna be generous to myself and say it's because this movie was fucking stupid. It was so stupid. Okay, all right. No, I'm gonna get through this.
Is it me? No, it's the movie.
No. This time it's not me. This is. I feel like I know that I'm the one who suggested this whole podcast. I feel like you were punishing me by making me watch this. Okay.
It's just payback for Airwolf.
Ba, 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 ba. Although,
I can't even with that. I've forgotten everything that happened in that entire television show. Do you know what that means? Do you know how hard it is for me to forget a television show? All of it gone.
No, I know how your brain works. I know the trauma this must have given you. The only thing that I remember from Airwolf is the very first scene when Ger is in the tent, like lounging sexily, drinking a fucking martini. He's like, hello.
I'm all booked. And he's reading, and he's like, huh? And he holds up the book like, did it?
Just so you get it. Yeah.
Best scene in the entire series.
100%. 100%. Yeah. That, and then anytime he's wearing jeans, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So, Trilogy of Terror. Okay, we got this. All right, so it's from 1996. It was a TV movie. He's only in the first third. He plays a character named Ben Garrick. He may or may not be the cousin of the lady he's fucking. I'm going to choose to believe he's not because I can't handle cousin fucking and rubber rats. You get one. You get one.
You get one of these things. You must choose. Choose wisely.
And I don't know that they did, frankly. Okay. So this is so hard for me. Okay. So this segment is about there's a young woman named Laura Ansford. And it's possible that her last name is pronounced Ainsford because it changes every scene because nobody cared. Laura something or other. She's married to an old man, and I looked it up. The actor who plays her husband, apparently he's still around. God bless him. He must be like 90-something. And he's famous for being in Western movies. He's always playing like old prospector cowboy types. I choose to believe that he is an excellent cowboy actor because like Ger is an excellent Shakespeare actor and the Lizette Anthony was truly excellent in Dracula Dead and Loving It. I choose to believe that they are all great, wonderful actors. Just not in this.
Yeah, just not having a great.
We're taking a mulligan for this one.
No,
yeah,
I don't know. He's pretty when he's like surprise, surprise. I was like,
it's so big.
What?
It's so broad. But okay, so my argument is that Ger also is so goddamn big in this. He is so broad. It's like, sir, you're not in like an amphitheater. You don't have to be shouting for the back wall. This is a TV movie. The camera is right there. Like, you don't have to be this big, and everyone is huge. So I'm hoping that Mr. Old Man Prospector is actually great in his prospector roles or his like old timey cowboy roles.
I mean, I hated him. If you wanted me to hate you, I hated him.
Yeah, but I hated everybody.
Everybody was hateable, Meg. Honestly, the
except for the rats.
I was going to say, honestly, the best characters were the rats.
I rooted for the rats. Okay, so there's this lady named Laura Ainsford. I'm going to say a different way every time because it don't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
She's married to an old man in an electric wheelchair, and that's going to matter in about 3 seconds. And an electric wheelchair, his name is Roger Brockton Ansford, and he's the head of Ansford Enterprises. What does it do? I don't know. You don't need to know. Don't worry about it.
Stocks.
They live... We're going to get to that in a second because oh my God. I'm hoping the stocks and bonds scene, I'm hoping that's just it's been so long since 1996 that they just did things differently back then because it's real weird. Anyways, they are rich and they're fancy. So where do they live? Casa Loma.
Casa Loma, yeah. Where all rich people live?
Obviously, yeah. I like that Casa Loma turns no one away. Based on this, I have to assume that we could go in there and they would be like, here's how much money we will require from you to like block out one room for 1 hour at like 4 a.m. And if we gave them that money, Rachel, we could film a movie in Casa Loma.
Correct.
Yeah, it's very democratic. I like that. For listeners who don't know, which we talk about Casa Loma in every fucking episode because he films everything in Casa Loma. But if this is your first episode somehow, Casa Loma, I'm just screaming. Casa Loma is it's a tourist attraction in Toronto. It's a building that used to be it's a former mansion. It's a former mansion that was owned by fancy rich people, and then they lost all their money. So then the city of Toronto owns it, and now everyone films there because it's real nice and fancy. And there's a restaurant there that we're going to eat in one day.
And you go tour it. If you're from the U.S., it's basically the Biltmore estate.
Yes. Yeah. It's a rich people's house. There's lots of wood paneling. I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I finally got to see it.
We were there for like 6 hours.
I will say, I did not like, they have the main house, which was cool and interesting. And they have like a little audio tour where you can learn about all that, like what each room was for. And then you can learn about the family. Like the wife of the family was instrumental in bringing Girl Guides to Canada from the United Kingdom. And so like, it's interesting. You learn a lot of educational stuff. They also have like a sewer tunnel area, kind of like where all the pipes and stuff are underneath the house. That sounds interesting. Maybe not around Halloween time. It is interesting. Around Halloween time, they fill it with cobwebs and like rubber spiders. And I was like, I don't enjoy this. And then you end up popping up in like one of the carriage houses, which is a not very good wax museum with very unsettling looking wax figures that are too close. So you can see how bad they are very close to your face. So like, I don't recommend that portion. But the house itself, I thought was very educational and very interesting. And like, I like that kind of old timey stuff. And I liked being able to go in there and go, this scene of Forever Night was filmed here. And that scene of Forever Night was filmed there. Like, Ger's entire career happened in this room right here. So I enjoyed it for like Toronto history and also Ger specific histories, places that he has made out with people. So we are in Casa Loma. So the old man is talking to his young wife and he's like, oh, I'm going to fire your cousin, Ben Garrick. And she's like, why are you going to fire him? And so Ben is a vice president, not the vice president, but like one of, I guess, several vice presidents for this company. He's on the board. That's really all we know. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to fire him. And she's like, why? And he's like, because he's having sex with you. And I was like, okay, this is 2 minutes into this movie.
No. She says he didn't do anything. And he goes, yes, he did. He did you.
The 90s. Yeah.
And she's like, no, he did not. And he's like, boop, boop, let me play the tape, bitch.
Okay, so now we get to the sex tape, which is the worst thing. I know that every week I say this is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is the worst thing I've ever seen, other than the puppets who have blowjobs. This was so...
It was not. I love this part. Agree to disagree. I did not hate this. This part was funny because he's like fully clothed, and this is supposed to be a sex scene.
I hate it. It was, you know, when like your skin crawls and you're like, I don't understand why I'm so viscerally creeped out all of a sudden. I'm just like, ugh. So it's in black and white. It's kind of from like the middle of his back, because Ger is on top, facing down. Like it's like the top middle of his back up towards their heads. So like that's all that you really see. He is wearing a wife beater, and I don't know why that makes it so unsettling for me. Like I know he's a never nude. I get it. I respect that lifestyle choice. But there's something about him having aggressive graphic sex in a wife beater. I was like, I want to leave my body now. I just want to shed this skin and ascend to the next level. I don't want to be here on Earth anymore. So they are kissing each other, and he's got the wife beater, and then he's like doing some thrusts, and they're moaning and stuff.
Yeah.
The camera is so close to his back. Like they don't even do that thing where it's like we start off like it was a hidden camera like way in the top of the ceiling, and then we zoomed in.
Like zoom in. No. There's a guy that's like, okay, now throw your head back. That's it. Good. Roll slightly to the side so we can see that it's you. Yeah. Your makeup's looking great, babe. It's looking great. That lipstick's not even smeared.
My hands are clenched.
And meanwhile, Garrett's like, he does so much heavy breathing in this whole episode. There's a scene when they go to the restaurant, the like old Salem Inn, and he sits down. He's like, he grunts the whole sit down process.
Like you said, he's grunting so much this entire episode, and but like to your point, the camera is so close behind him in the sex scene that it seems like there's no way that this came from like a stationary camera. This came from like a man standing very close to your back and like zooming in just a little bit and breathing next to you. Like it is so upsetting. It is so unsettling. I did not like it. It's like a 25-second sex scene, and I hated it with my whole body. And I am here for a Ger sex scene. Like I don't want to confuse the audience. I'm obviously I'm not here for this one. This one was bad. She watches it and she's horrified, even though she was the one under Ger in a wife beater. And she's like, I'm going to leave you this time. And I'm like, what is that a reference to? Do you know what I mean? Like, your relationship doesn't make any kind of a sense to me, but like, okay, like this time that you filmed me with my secret lover, this time was too many times. And like, I'm incensed. I'm like, but you're the one cheating on the old man. Like what? Anyways.
Step too far.
Yeah. Like, you know, when you're watching something and you're like, you just put words together. You didn't care what those words meant in any order. You were just like, say some words now. Now you say some words. Now he says some words. Now we're in a different place. Like it's the yada yada school of filmmaking that we discussed, I think, last episode and also every previous episode in this podcast. So, okay.
Why are you bionic? Wouldn't you like to know? Okay.
Yeah, I would.
I would, actually.
Well, you're never gonna. End movie. So she's like, I'm going to leave you this time. And he's like, well, if you do, I'm going to send this video of you having sex. Sorry, he has 2 videos. He has 2 entire VHS tapes.
He holds them up like a bouquet, like a deck of cards. He's like, I'll just send these to the tabloid.
Yeah, he splays them out dramatically. And I'm like, was he having sex? Like, how long couldn't you like record on a VHS tape for like 6 hours? Is this 12 hours of him having sex?
3 tapes. No, remember there were different settings. You could record at full resolution, and that was like 2.5 hours. Or there was like a slow setting and it would be grainier, but you could record for longer.
I choose to believe that this was the grainiest setting, and then he has 12 hours of Ger having tantric undershirt sex with this woman. Like he watched for the full 12 hours to be like, I don't know, is she having an affair? I'm not sure. The evidence isn't all in yet.
He still has not taken off the wife beater. Is he going to take his shirt off?
It's actually not a wife beater. It's a full body onesie. And he's like, I don't think sex is actually happening.
It's one of the ones with the flap in the back. He's like, flap's in the wrong side.
Oh, I'm crying. Every week I cry. Oh my God. But yeah, he has 2 separate VHS tapes of the Ger sex sessions. And he's like, I will send these to the tabloids. If you leave me, I will send these to the tabloids. And she's like, well, I don't want that. I'm like, part of me is like, well, I guess like tabloids, I get the impression, I get the fear that like they will publish anything salacious. Like I get that. But also you're just the young wife of some businessman. Do you know what I mean? Like even if you're like some really, I mean, maybe if you're like the Elon Musk of businessmen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's probably supposed to be the like Rockefeller, Elon Musk. And then if his wife was cheating on him, it'd be a big deal.
Yeah. So he's like, I'll send it to the tabloids. And she's like, I don't want that. So he's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You, like my will, here's a copy of it. Look at it. It says that everything that I have goes to you. It's still going to say that.
I like to think it's written in like purple crayon. It's like, you get the money. And then it just has like, whatever his name was, Brad at the bottom.
That's kind of how this whole thing feels from a probate perspective, honestly. Okay. So he's like, look, the will, I haven't changed it. It still says everything goes to you. However, I will only keep it this way so long as you don't see Ben ever again. I'm going to fire him. So like, you don't have to see him at work, and I'm going to like, then you don't see him ever again in your personal life. And you have to be a loving and faithful wife to me, which obviously means sex slave and maid, because that's how that works. And as long as you do this with me and you never have another liaison with anybody ever again, you will still get all of my money, all my millions. But if you do anything with this guy, like, and if you, he basically says like, if you embarrass me in public, you get nothing. And I was like, this is why I texted you, because I was like, okay, he has made clear, I don't want you to embarrass me.
Right.
But I am also willing to send this send this video to a tabloid, which would embarrass both of us. And I'm like, you've just threatened her with a thing that you also said is the one thing that you do not want to happen. So like, I don't see how this is any kind of a viable threat at all. Like the I'm gonna disinherit you out of the will. I will divorce you. Like, I'm like, okay, I get that. That's character motivation. Like, that makes sense. But then the thing with the sex video, I'm like, did they just want to film a creepy Ger wife beater sex video? Like, is that, because it like doesn't make sense in terms of, your face says yes, that they just wanted to film sex.
I mean, they're like, we've hired Garrett Wynn Davies, and they're like, well, do we have him in a sexy role? And they're like, I mean, kind of. He's going to get eaten by rats. And they're like, all right, we got to work a sex tape in somehow, because
otherwise he will take all the ham from the craft services table. Oh my God. So like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, for the one time in my entire life, I did not enjoy seeing a Ger sexy scene. I know, it confused me too. So, but anyway, so that's their agreement. She's like, fine. So then of course the very next scene is she storms off to see Ger. It's like, understandable.
And she's walking around in a bathrobe in an apartment with him with all the windows open.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Like, he knows we're together. Okay, but like, now you're together again. You're immediately doing the thing he told you never ever do again.
Correct. Because every character in this is like venal and stupid together.
Okay. I kept waiting for that to come around and be like,
no. Any smart thing, no. Nope.
No. Except he's watching TV. He's like laying on his stomach on the TV.
Like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, on the bed. That's the word for it. He's laying on his stomach on the bed watching the TV, like his feet kicking, like la 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 la. And she goes to turn it off. He's like, where's my favorite scene? And he turns it back on. And it's the scene where is it A View to a Kill or something? Anyway, he pushes the lady down the stairs.
It's a movie called Kiss of Death, which I didn't look up if it was a real movie. It seemed like a real movie, but in terms of this, I don't know.
He's like, I love that part. And I was like, oh, we're going to push him down the stairs. Because they're like, let's watch the movie where we push somebody in a wheelchair down the stairs. This will have no bearing on what we do later in this vignette.
Look, as we discussed earlier, this is the subtlest movie that's ever been made.
That's true. You're right. Like, how could I have possibly guessed how that was going to play out?
Yeah, this movie telegraphs everything that it does very loudly, and then it like rings a gong to make sure that you heard how they were telegraphing it. So yeah, he is on his stomach, like with his like on his elbows, watching the black and white movie and like giggling and kicking his legs like a little girl, because like the movie has to make me, it like knows all the things that make me uncomfortable. And like when Ger is evil and he does that weird little giggle, it's like a high-pitched schoolgirl giggle. When he does that, like my whole body shrivels up. Like it hits, there's like some tone that he hits that like hurts me physically. It's like it's like those whistles for dogs where they're like, like where it hurts them. That's what his giggle does to me. It's upsetting.
It's because we've heard it too many times.
Maybe. So, and he's drinking a beer, which like, maybe I just like, I know that I'm not I was going to say not the world's most coordinated. I'm among the world's least coordinated people. I understand that. I know that about myself. But like the physicality of lying on your stomach on a bed while trying to drink a beer and like face straight forward, that's not a comfortable thing to do. That's like the least comfortable way to drink a beer. That's why schoolgirls don't drink beer that way. You know what I mean? Like it is the worst. I was like, no human person has ever done this. It's so you're such a not a person right now. Like it's so be normal. Fucking be normal how you drink a beer even. It's just wrong. You're doing everything wrong. I need you to understand that. This is a corollary to when we watched him try and fold laundry, when we watched him hit buttons in Airwolf. Like they're like, drink a beer. And he's like, what if I drink a beer like no human person ever has? Fold laundry. What if I take it out of the dryer and into the washer? It's like, no, sir, why are the human tasks so hard for you? I don't like it. Are you an alien? Like I don't. You can tell us. It's okay.
That's because at home he only drinks white wine while laying in a hammock, being fanned by several women.
With palm fronds.
Bring me my wine sippy cup. Respectfully.
Yeah, with all respect, Ger. We love you very much, but
we know you don't drink out of a sippy cup. Come on, that's what straw cups are for.
I was gonna say, absolutely. Like topless women, definitely hand you very nice china glasses, obviously. So he's on the bed. He's drinking his beer. He's watching his black and white movie where someone is pushed down some stairs in a wheelchair, and the TV movie is like, see what we're gonna do, and we're like, we see it, we don't like it. The movie's like, we don't care. So Laura, the woman, is upset. She's like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I can't leave him because then I'm broke, and also I've got like videos of me will be in the tabloids. Like, and staying with him, I'm afraid of him. He makes me miserable, and also like he's scary. Like what? Like my life, like I'm trapped. I have like, what am I gonna do? And Ger's like, well, we could kill him. And she's like, what? No.
What? No.
I will say, and I'm going to give credit to the actress, to Lizette Anthony. I didn't realize when watching this the first time that she will turn out to be like an evil mastermind. And I'm sure that's really because the movie it doesn't give you any, like, it doesn't really give you any hints or any foreshadowing in this one particular aspect. And then at the end, it's like, surprise, she was actually the mastermind all along. What? She played Ger. What? But like, I choose to believe that actually there are some hints like in the dialogue a little bit, and that she's just such a good actress that she was like able to misdirect us with her amazing acting skills. I'm going to find some silver lining in this schlock fest, and that is where I choose to find it, that she is just a talented actress, just diverting our attention to different places. So Ger's like, I could kill him, and she's like, what? No, what? I mean, if you want, I mean, what? No, maybe. So Ger's like, are you ever alone with him? And she's like, funnily enough, tomorrow, which is Thursday, he makes all the servants leave the house, and I have to wait on him hand and foot. And it's just me in this big empty house. It's not Casa Loma. Why would you say that? It's just him and me. All the doors are open and all the alarms are off. Like, could that be helpful for you? Maybe. Also, he sleeps with like a knife under his bed, and he takes Ambien. Like, is that? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. He's like, good, excellent. Yeah. And the board meets on Friday, and your husband, Roger Ansford, never told the board that he was going to fire me. And I'm like, well, that seems like an oversight on his part, whatever. So he's like, no one knows I'm going to be fired. So if I kill him the day before, then I still get to be on the board, and I get my paycheck every week, which is great. And then, you get your money from his estate. Like, everyone wins. Cool.
Win-win.
Win-win. Yeah.
Well, no, you're missing the true ambiance of the let's kill him moment, because she's like, no. And he walks up and gets like a millimeter from her face. And he's like, what if we kill him? And she's like,
yeah. I will say my notes say no, Garrick convinces her with kisses.
Yeah. And then finally she's like, I mean, will we have sex first? And he's like, of course we'll have sex first. And she's like, okay, then fine, we can kill him. Because he's like right next to her face. And he's like, we can do it.
He's very persuasive.
He's so old. All you have to do is scare him, and he's going to die of a heart attack. It's perfect. Win-win.
Yeah, I will say I should have mentioned that. Yeah, he specifically says, we'll just scare him to death.
Yeah.
Listener, that is not what happens, but I like that that is the line of dialogue that they go for in this moment, because in 2 seconds you're going to be like, that's not it at all.
That's not what
nope.
But he does like make out convince her, which
he's convincing.
It's a very Ger character move.
It's absolutely a Garrick character.
Yeah.
So my theory that the more characteristics something has, the worse it is, definitely is proved by this movie. Because every time he's within fully 4 feet of her, he goes hand to cheek, licking her up to her nose. And I was like, yes, correct, sir. Correct. You're in good form. This is a garbage movie, but you knew what you were here to do.
Yes. He's like, I had the tuna salad. Want to taste it?
That made me a little sick. Okay. The idea of tasting tuna on somebody else.
This is the quality content I bring to this podcast.
Look, poor Kelly. I haven't made barf noises in weeks, and I just
ages. Ages.
So long. I'm sorry, Kelly. You just got it in stereo. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. He convinces her with a hardcore makeout scene that just rewrites her brain. So and the worst part is he still calls her cousin as he's doing it. He's like, yeah, cousin. No, that's gross. That's gross. It would be gross if you were actually cousins. It's weird that you're doing it in like a kinky, hey, you know that we pretended we were cousins? That's kind of hot. No, it is not. Sir, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, bad. It's like, fucking stop it. Like, just this whole movie needs like a squirt bottle. The whole movie needs to have been hit with a squirt bottle every time it went whatever direction it was going to go. Just like a couple of corrective squirts would have been
back to the plot. Okay, fine.
Be normal. So he's like, we'll scare her to death. Hey, you're my cousin. That's really hot. Blow me. Next scene. So we get back to Casa Loma. We've got Roger, the husband, and he is sitting in his room with a portable like tape recorder, like the little ones with the little tiny baby tapes that younger listeners will have no idea. They will have never seen, but they're like little tiny miniature. They look like a cassette tape, like an audio cassette tape, but like shrunk down to like mini. 1/4 the size. Yeah. Yeah. And you could record your voice on them. You know, proto iPhones way back in the day when we were young, 100 years ago.
It was a voice note. It's a voice note. Yeah.
Thank you for the youth. This will help them understand.
For the youth.
So for all the young people who are like, oh shit, my favorite podcast just dropped. Ger Can Get It. I love hearing what that old man's been up to.
Dozens of us.
We are legion. So he is talking into his little voice recorder, and he's like, buy this, sell that, buy this, sell that. And he's also got like notes for like a secretary. Like, you make sure that this guy comes to this meeting and make sure that guy comes. And if this guy is late, then you read him the riot act. And I'm like, I forget how this works. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where you like record all this and then you stick it in an envelope and you fucking mail it to somebody and then they listen to it and then they like do whatever you told them to do in the voice recording. It is so analog and so retro that I was watching this and I was like, is it a tiny phone? Like, my brain could not remember. And the funniest part is like all of these things that he's saying seem like time specific. Like, at the meeting tomorrow, make sure that Bob is there. How the fuck are you going to get that? Like, it's 9:00 at night. How are you getting this audio cassette tape to your secretary who's going to call Bob and make sure that Bob shows up on time? Or he's like, buy this stock and sell that stock. And I'm like, okay, when the stock exchange opens tomorrow at like 8 a.m., how are you going to get this direction to anybody? Like, they had email in 1996. I remember having email when I was a kid. Like, it was slow and it was dial-up. It was AOL. But like, there were fast, like, what are you going to do? Strap it to your carrier pigeon? Like, it's so, every part of this movie is so fucking weird and frustrating, but it just gives the old man a chance to scream into his hand in his bedroom. Yeah. And then he's like, I want my cup of tea. So he rolls himself over to the wall where he's got a bunch of ropes, which is how I would like my future house to be. Just like a bunch of rope bells. Like, I want to go full angry old Victorian man. Yeah. That's the vibe I want. So he rolls over, he finds the rope that I guess corresponds to the kitchen and he starts yanking on it like the fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame, just like, mah, 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 just like yanking on it. So she's downstairs in the kitchen. She hears it. She's like, whatever. She pours his cup of tea and like brings him the worst fucking toast that anyone's ever made.
She is making him dry toast and warm milk.
I thought she was putting the warm milk in something. Is it literally just warm milk?
It's literally just warm milk. Because she's like, I scalded the milk. I had to reheat it. And he goes, oh, you're warm milk.
That's gross and upsetting.
She's heating milk on the stove and toasting toast. And it takes her forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not domestic.
I was like, she couldn't just be drinking warm milk. It has to be in something. But you're right. There's like no indication. So I just chose to believe again that these were normal human people instead of a weird old man drinking toast and milk at night. Fucking yes. What? So anyway, she's heating up her milk. She's in the kitchen. She's rolling her eyes. Ger pops up out of the bushes dressed like a fucking ninja. It won't matter.
He goes, tap, 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 tap.
He's a hand actor. He has to do the hand acting. So he is dressed like a ninja burglar. And you're like, oh, are you going to like do this stealthily to hide your identity? Nope. Fucking nope. So he's in the kitchen. He comes in. He's wearing all of his black. He's like, oh, this guy's being a dick. So you're definitely not going to change your mind now. And she's like, whatever. So she goes upstairs. She goes into Roger's room. He's verbally berating her. He's like, the milk is, first off, she burns him with the milk accidentally on purpose, whatever. He's like, my toast is cold. This milk is hot. I'm a miserable old man and I'm just going to talk. So, then we hear Ger making noises in the hall and they both hear him and they both get startled. And Laura's like, okay, I'm going to call the police. So she does that thing where you pick up the phone and then you like immediately hit the little, what do you call that button? The no talkie button. What do you call that? The button. The thing.
If you hadn't asked me, I would have known.
This is the interesting content that you guys come to listen to. What is the name of that button on the fucking phone?
It's just slightly too old even for us.
I know. It's been too long since we had actual buttons on the phone. She hits the button that makes the call not actually go through. It goes back to the dial tone. So she pretends that she's calling 911 and she's like, oh no, please come to our home, which is not Casa Loma. Why would you ask that? And also there's a burglar. Oh no. So then she hangs up the phone. So she fake calls the cops. Then she pulls this guy's gun out of the drawer. And earlier we'd heard Ger go, okay, hey, make sure that his gun, that the old man's gun, is full of dummies. It's full of dummy bullets, so like it won't actually hurt me. So she's like, all right. So she pulls out the gun. She makes like she's going to walk down the hall with the gun. And the old man's like, give me that fucking gun. I don't trust you. You're a moron. Because he just keeps calling her an idiot to her face over and over and over again. He grabs the gun. He starts rolling down the hallway. Garrick pops up behind him somehow. It doesn't matter how he does it. Magic, sure. He's wearing a full-on balaclava at this point. Ger is. So the old man like looks behind him, sees the guy in the balaclava, and tries to shoot him. And they're all blanks. Like it just makes little like popping noises and nothing comes out of the gun. So I was like, okay, that's smart. So that Ger's wearing the balaclava so that he'll just scare the old man. And then like if the old man does not die immediately, the old man will not know who the burglar was. No, movie's not that smart. Movie then has Ger pull off his balaclava to reveal his face. He does the maniacal, high-pitched horror laugh that he fucking does every scene in this movie, which again, I reiterate, I do not like that laugh. The guy sees him, and then somehow like Ger manages to like push the joystick on the wheelchair to like warp speed and like lock it. And he rides the fucking wheelchair with this guy like it's a death ride to the top of the stairs and then jumps off. And the old man flings himself down the stairs and the wheelchair comes after him. And I will say, this movie is not great for special effects. I will say that when they were going down the stairs at the Casa Loma, I was like, oh, I hope that was not a stunt actor because those are wooden stairs and that is a heavy electric wheelchair coming down very quickly behind you, sir. That's not going to go well. So... But I thought, like, it looked okay. Like, there's not a lot to recommend this movie on, but the wheelchair murder down the stairs scene was kind of fine, I guess. So we have the cops come. The cops are like, oh, the old man, like, rammed himself down the stairs at high speed. That seems probable. That's probably what happened. Young lady wife with your boyfriend in the house. Yeah, it was case closed. We're fine with this.
Yeah, no, we're not going to look into this. He was old anyway.
Yeah. Put him in the ambulance. Case closed. Solved. So... and I made a note in my notes. I said Ger did his hoo-hoo laugh because he just does a horrifying. He laughs like he goes hoo-hoo. Like I don't like it. It's so creepy. It's so upsetting. I miss the Shakespeare. I don't like the hoo-hoo laugh. So he does the hoo-hoo laugh to take the body away. And then the very next day we've got Ger. He's in the old man's car because he's wasting no time. He's wearing the one pair of sunglasses that he wears in everything in the 90s. Did you notice that? He's got one fucking pair.
Literally. Yes.
Literally.
Because he wears the same one in Airwolf and he wears the same one in Forever Night. They are almost a characteristic at this point.
They are a character. Those are your sunglasses. You brought your own to set and we're like, these are what I'm wearing.
He's like, no, I got my sunglasses. And they're like, well, we have some for you. And he's like, no, I wear the same ones.
This is my pair. Yeah.
Yeah.
My contract says I get to wear my sunglasses. I get to kiss one lady per scene. I get all the ham on the craft services table. That's what my contract says. So mote it be.
Not my fault. You didn't read the fine print. Also, give me the fucking ham.
Trick or treat, bitch. Where's my bag of ham? The only way this movie makes sense to me is if he got paid in ham, and he got a lot of ham. Like that is because whatever dollar amount is not sufficient. Like whatever dollar amount is insulting. But if I think no, he got paid in like 6 deli cut hams, I'm like, okay, that feels right. So
yeah, that's fair.
I'm sorry, I just had a mental image. Okay, so
takes him home, puts him in his chest freezer, pats the top like, job well done.
2 hours of work, 6 weeks of ham. Oh my God. This movie, I'm struggling so hard. This movie is so bad. But he's wearing his personal sunglasses. He's driving the fancy car.
He's like, this drives a lot better than my Heap.
Does the fucking hoo-hoo laugh again? Why? Sir, stop hoo-hoo laughing. It's awful. It's so gross. So they are driving, I guess, like wherever the board meeting is. It's in Salem, Massachusetts, which is not, I guess, where...
That's where they're burying this guy. That's where they're burying her husband. Yeah.
So, okay. So is it your impression that where the office tower is, where the board meeting is not also in Old Salem? That they're going city, Old Salem, city, and then back to Old Salem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, like even locations like this movie isn't very clear to me. But okay, so they're driving to where the funeral is going to be. They end up at this ratchety old bar in Old Salem. And I think it's funny because you and I lived in North Carolina. Well, you still live in North Carolina. Old Salem is a place in North Carolina. It's where I went to high school. It's a town that they've kept in like the 1700s. So it's like a little old timey town. People like walk down the street wearing bonnets and big thick like wool dresses and shit all year long in the summer and the winter. So when they said like, oh, we're at the Old Salem bar, I was like, are you? But no, they meant Massachusetts. They don't give a shit. So they're in Massachusetts, and I know that because they in Massachusetts is where you find Irishmen. It is known. That's how it works.
Irishman and a guy that they just picked up off the side of the road in Alberta. When they're sitting
that accent, I know.
At the bar, and the guy's like, "Oh, is that a new ring you got there, bud?" I was like, "Where are we supposed to be right now?"
The Canadian content got a little thick. I choose to believe that they just filmed in a bar in Toronto, and some rando drunk from Alberta, like popped in and was like, "Oh, hey, you guys filming a movie?" Like he just popped in, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, come on, man, you can be part of it too." How much ham do you want?
The thickest Canadian accent, because he's like, "Oh, is that a new suit jacket you got too?" "Oh no, it looks a little tight on you there, bud." You're like, "Sir. You are supposed to be an American. Can you please try for like 2 seconds?"
You can either do generic American accent or you can go all the way to Irish. Those are the only 2 options for Boston. Yeah. For Boston and Salem, Massachusetts, obviously. So clearly, they're at a bar somewhere on the face of the earth. It's not super clear. And there's an old man in there, and his name is Old Arlie Stubbs. And the first time I watched it, I was like, are they saying Harley? Because that's a name that a human person has ever had. No. No, they make it clear halfway through that his name is Arlie Stubbs, because it's one of those, where they have to just, like none of the characters feel like human people, and they can't even have human people names. They have to have like weird, like Jellicle cat names, but whatever. So Arlie Stubbs is at the bar, and he's the Irish gravedigger / caretaker, and everyone in town knows he's a grave robber, and they think it's fucking hilarious. Which I'd love to delve into because it's so fucking messed up. But like, I think the movie just wants you to know that every character in it is a piece of shit. The guys who have no names at the bar from Alberta who just make fun of Arlie Stubbs, they're pieces of shit. Arlie Stubbs, also a piece of shit. Like, it just wants you to have no sympathy, no empathy for anybody. And then if you just go from that point onward, like if you go from that place, like that emotional place of I don't like anybody, then the movie will not affect you in any kind of way. Like that's how they want you to act. So they're like, oh yeah, that suit jacket looks a little big on you. Like, look at all these rings. And I fucking love this because the guy is like grizzled old Irish gravedigger. Like, he looks like what you think he would look like. Like, he's wearing like a flannel shirt. And then top of that, they have him wearing like a sea captain's blazer, and his fingers are covered in like bejeweled rings. I'm like, okay, so not only are you a gravedigger, but a grave robber, but you're like the least subtle grave robber who ever, like, you might as well show up wearing like a dookie chain. Like, this guy is not hiding it at all.
And yeah, he's the grave robber here. He's the grave digger in Salem's Lot, the made-for-TV miniseries from 1979.
I like the idea that he just sat in Salem from 1979 until 1996 when they made this. And he's like, oh, do you need another Irishman to dig a grave suspiciously? And they were like, I guess. And he was like, I'm your man.
It's just, it's Jerusalem's Lot, but like shortened to Salem's Lot. And then he's in this and it's Old Salem. It's just an interesting, like, okay, did you know that when you hired him?
Let's pretend that was intentional, because no part of this movie otherwise feels intentional. So let's just go with that.
He also dies in an open grave in Salem's Lot.
It's weird the echoes that this movie makes unintentionally across time and space. Like, I know that it had no idea. I know that it didn't care, but it's kind of funny. So so Arlie is sitting there and they're making fun of him and his bejeweled corpse rings, basically. And then they're like, oh, hey, look at the sexy young man and the sexy lady. I bet they're here for the funeral of that Ansford guy tomorrow. And I'm like, do so few people come to your town that if like one new person comes to the bar, you're like, oh, that must be for the funeral that I heard about? Because again, this reads like a short story written by a 17-year-old who was like, I'm a fucking genius. It's like, no, no. So Arlie is like, oh yeah, I bet you're right. I'm going to go over there and talk to them. So he's like, hey, are you the widow of the dead guy? And she's like, yeah. So he goes, okay, your husband is supposed to be buried in the Old South Yard. That's the bad part of the cemetery. I know that's where your husband's family plot is. That's the bad part. He should not be buried there. That section is dangerous because it's been eaten out underground by giant dog-sized rats. And I would like to pause there for a second so we can all take that in.
The fuck?
Because he doesn't just say, like, the ground is bad. The ground is bad because there are rats. The ground is bad because there are rats the size of dogs. And I was like, oh, is he exaggerating? Listener, he is not. He is not. They are the size of terriers. They are giant rubber rats. We will find out. But so he's like, look, he's got to be there. He has to be buried in the family plot. Laura says this. He has to be buried there. That's where he wanted to be buried. He's going to be buried there. And then Arlie's like, well, maybe if you put him in a steel coffin. And I'm like, okay, let's hold up for a second. Tomorrow. He's being buried tomorrow. Where the fuck are we going to get a steel coffin? Even if they're like, yes, yeah, that's a smart idea. We should do that. Fucking how? Do you know what I mean? Like, the funeral home doesn't have a giant metal coffin. Okay, you tell me, please.
And again, I would like to point out, as I pointed out in Bury Me in Niagara, you don't just get put straight in the ground. You get buried in a burial container, usually made of concrete.
Yeah, but these are very serious rats, though, Rachel. Bullets don't hurt them, so concrete they can probably chew right through.
Okay, I'm just want to point out. And you were like, does this come up often? Well, here we are again, Meg. And I just want to point out that you don't just get, because then when the wood and contents of the grave break down, the ground would sag, and we can't have that. So we go in a little burial container.
Yeah. No, I appreciate grave knowledge with Rachel.
Just want to point that out. Thank you. So if they had been, OSHA approved, the rats would have nothing to eat because they would have had to chew through concrete.
So in this murder suicide, or not suicide, in this murder story with giant rubber dog-sized rats, your problem with the accuracy of it is with the lack of the vault. Okay. But the rubber rats, you're fine with.
So it's not my problem specifically with this. It's my problem across the board in horror movies when we interact with graves. Like Buffy. Every time a person just popped out of the ground in Buffy, they had to break through there. whole
that would be an absolute that would be the worst. That would be the most horrifying. Can you imagine? Like, not from Buffy's point of view, but from the vampire point of view, when you're like, all right, I managed to poke open my coffin, and you're like, what is this? What is this concrete box?
Yeah.
Horrifying.
It comes up often, okay? And
no, I appreciate that, because in a second I'm going to have a lawyer pissed off moment. So I appreciate your mortician pissed off moment. Because it like this, even like the basic. So like the characters don't seem like people. They don't act like people. But also like what you're saying is like the world of this movie is not. It bears no resemblance to the real world before we even get to the rubber rats. And that's I think that's part of why this is so frustrating to watch.
It's fine. It doesn't take me out of a movie. It's just every single time I'm like, oh, that's not accurate. And it's
no, but it's like indicative. It's indicative of like this whole thing. Like if it leaned into the goofy, it could have been funny. If it leaned into the serious, it could have been scary. But instead, it's half-assed. And as we've established in this podcast, when it's half-assed, that's when I'm pissed off. Like, what was the one? Oh, American Psycho, where I compared it to just being hit in the face with a dick. Like that's kind of, if you half-ass something, then I'm mad. If you go balls to the wall for like goofy and insane, or you go balls to the wall for like serious and want this to be a good movie, I will go with you. I will go with you on this adventure for the rubber rats. But like when you show me clearly that you just didn't give a shit, then I'm mad about it. Then that's when I'm mad that I paid $45 plus shipping, whatever, for the Blu-ray disc of this garbage movie because you didn't care.
It's a 2-second thing that nobody ever includes.
Yeah.
And I would just love someone to create a horror movie where we go into a grave and it has a burial vault, and that becomes part of the whole scary part of it.
There's got to be one somewhere. I don't know.
If you find it, let me know.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, you could watch it on your podcast with Matt, your Strange and Beautiful book club.
Because even if you look at like footage of when they exhume a grave, you can see when they lift like the concrete lid of the vault. And now not always, and especially in older cemeteries for older graves, you don't always get a vault.
Yeah.
But now if he's being buried right now in 1996, he's probably going to be in a vault.
Although they do make a point to say that it's the old part of the cemetery and it's like already like sunken and eaten through. So maybe they just, to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe you couldn't put in the concrete burial vault because it would just sink deeper into the rat burrows. I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
Let's assume that they thought about it. They thought about it like deeply, and they were like, that this would not actually work on this side of the cemetery.
I mean, I get why they don't include it. I do, because it makes the story not work a lot of times when you
it's an extra
I'm
step.
buried alive and I have to get out. Okay, well, I'm buried alive. I got out of my coffin, but shit, now I'm encased in concrete. That's not gonna work for anybody. It's kind of the same way that like everybody shortcuts lawyer stuff, because if we included all of the details, it stops being entertaining, and that's fine.
I get it, but like with the burial vault thing, like there's a way to shorthand it where it still makes sense, and then there's a way to shorthand it where, as a lawyer, I feel myself bleeding from the eyes, and I'm like, this makes no sense, and I'm angry on behalf of everyone who's ever had my job. Anyways, so the guy's like, look, like the only options are, like, I think you should not bury him in the old part of the cemetery because it's full of dog-sized rats. Dog-sized rats. Or put him in a big metal coffin. Like, those are your options. And Ger's like, oh, are you trying to upsell us? And I'm like, this man is the groundskeeper. I don't think he's got like a share in the metal coffin industry. I don't think he's working for the funeral home. Like, I know that like I don't live on Earth. Like, I realize that like I don't know a lot about like a lot of things, but I feel like these characters know less than I do about any way that the world works at all. Because I'm just like, how did you go from the guy being like, hey, that part of the cemetery is sunken, to you're trying to upsell me on fancy coffins? Like, no, like what? Like, no. But to Ger's character's point, it's like, this is the day before you're supposed to start. I mean, you should have been digging the hole already if the funeral is tomorrow. And you're telling me that like the ground is rotted out and it's full of giant rats, and also probably I should have 8 weeks ago ordered a different coffin. Like, I don't know. It feels like none of these characters like make any kind of sense. But the guy's like, look, you shouldn't bury the guy there. It's bad. And they're like, fuck off. Also, like, I sort of don't know why Laura wouldn't just be like, if it's possible to change this last minute, I don't know why Laura wouldn't be like, okay. Because they don't even make it sound like, oh, in the will, it says all the money will go to charity unless you bury me in my family plot. Like, I don't understand why it's important to them that he's buried there, other than it would be inconvenient to change it 6 hours later. But like, whatever. It's just words for words. It doesn't matter. So anyways, they end up having the funeral. They go to the funeral. The lawyer who will read the will is there. And I love that he's like talking to the wife, like, we're here for you, like whatever you need. Like we love you. You're so great. Like we're so sorry about your husband, of 112-year-old husband dying. And then he looks over at Garrett and he's like, Garrick, Ben Garrick. And I'm like, okay. I love that it like, he clearly doesn't know about the affair, because then I would have to assume that he would be shitty to the wife and to the Ben Garrick character. Right. So it's like, he's just shitty to get, like, there's no context for it. He's just like, this guy. Okay.
That fucking guy.
Although Garrett is wearing a tie in the scene at the funeral, so I'm like, okay, maybe the lawyer's like, oh yeah, Garrett in a tie is a prick.
Smirking like a prick the whole time. He is so punchable. I was like,
his character is very punchable, this movie.
Can you try? You're trying to get away with murder right now. You need to look sad for a sec.
His character is 1 inch away from like tending his fingers and giggling and like having an erection.
Yeah, correct.
Like he is so I'm gonna fuck the widow. Yeah. Like it's so big. It's so like he earned his ham, I guess, but it's so much.
Yeah.
So it's like a 12-second scene. It doesn't matter, except you get to see at the end the grave diggers like digging the graves and looking concerned, and you're like, why? Because of the giant rats? It is because of the giant rats. There's no like secret subtext to the movie. It's just giant rats. So we go to the lawyer office, and then I love how they film this scene exactly like the scene from Forever Night. Like, why is it a secret characteristic for Ger to be outside a church and have a camera pan to him? Like, what? It's such a weird... Did you notice that? Like, the scene that you and Matt recreated, it was exactly the same, only he's a prick and not a vampire cop in this, but he's outside a church in Toronto in the morning waiting for somebody. I was like, okay, is that in your contract, sir? Like, you get to just film the same thing, like you just put on your same sunglasses, you stand outside, and they're like, and this, you're a prick who murdered a guy. And he's like, all right. And this, all of a sudden, you're a vampire cop. He's like, all right, hey, cool. I'm going to stand here and look stoic, and you just put it in whatever property you want to. So he's outside the lawyer office. He didn't go in with her. She comes out. She's all pissed off. He's like, hey, what? Sorry. In my notes, I wrote another Ger outside a church shot. Seriously, what is this? So I'm like, conspiracy. So she comes out. She's pissed off. She goes, he's like, what? What's going on? She goes, there's no property left to give me. He liquidated everything, and he sent it to secret accounts in Zurich with codes to get into the secret accounts on microfiche.
Microfilm, not microfiche.
Oh, what's the difference?
I don't know, but she calls it microfilm.
Oh, all right, sure, microfilm.
And microfiche is kind of big. If this one is like small.
And I guess the codes were at some point written in books in the guy's office, like he had like accounting books or whatever. Those books have been burned. This is where lawyer me like lost my shit, and I had to watch this movie 3 times to understand what was going on. And I still don't like it, because she comes out and she just makes this as like as a straight statement. Like, he gave everything to me in the will, but there's nothing left. And I am aware that there are secret bank accounts in Zurich. Later in the movie, like one scene later, Ger's character makes a comment where it becomes clear that she knows all this stuff about Zurich and the microfilm from the lawyer. So I'm like, okay, hold up. Because I can understand having a will where your separate property, it says like Rachel gets the TV and Matt gets the table. And then by the time that you read the will, by the time that I die, the TV and the table are already gone. Like, that's a thing that happens. Like, I understand also theoretically the idea that he liquidated all of his liquidatable assets. He put them in bank accounts in Zurich, because I think, isn't that the thing with Swiss bank accounts, that you get them by like number, and so like you could get them or I could get them as long as we had the correct numbers to access them. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that too, but like those would be like secret hidden assets. So if your lawyer knows about them, then they're not secret hidden assets. Like those two concepts, like they don't go together. Either he's like probating the estate and there's nothing there, or he's probating the estate and he's like, I know I know there are these other bank accounts, but I can't reach them. But like, if you know that there's these bank accounts associated with this dead man, then there must be a procedure, like an ancillary probate in Switzerland or whatever, to like scoop that stuff back into, like, to bring it back. If you thought that maybe there was something and you're like, we'll have to look, that would be one thing. But they're like, no, definitely they exist. And they were definitely in Switzerland. Like, he definitely liquidated everything and put them into Switzerland. Like, that's a thing that happened. Then the fact that they're like ungettable is confusing to me. But like, maybe with Swiss bank accounts, maybe you have to have that number and there's no way, even if you prove that they were opened by dead Roger, maybe that's what it is. But like, it felt very weird. And this is like not important, but like, this is sort of like the grave vault thing. Like, they keep saying heirs and they mean devisees. And like, I get that like in regular parlance, you just say heirs when you mean like the family of the dead guy. Like, I get it. But like, you have a will. They're devisees. It makes me mad. I know one thing. This is the one thing I know. Like, just use the right word. Anyway, so she comes out and she's all pissy because she's like, the only way to, I guess that's what I will assume, is that the only way for Switzerland to give her this bank account, which the will says she is entitled to, the only way for that is with these codes. And she's like, he burned all the books as a final fuck you. So she's like, it's got to be, he wouldn't have burned every record of this number. It has to be here somewhere. So they go back to the house, her and Ger's character, and they just rip the house apart top to bottom. Ger gets bored halfway through and starts playing pool, which also feels right for a Ger character. And then he makes a smart-ass comment. He's like, oh, like maybe he took it to the grave with him. And she's like, wait a minute. I bet that old fucker, that's exactly what he did, is he took it to the grave with him. Because did I forget to mention that he had a pocket watch with a secret compartment? And I was like, this fucking Inspector Gadget
and he goes,
movie.
How did you know? She goes, I don't know. He left it on the desk one time. I opened it. Like, like, why are you bionic?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to know?
Well, and like the best part is,
it's because he literally goes, wait, how do you know it has a secret compartment? And she's like, I don't know. He left it out one time and I looked at it.
Which, like, but looking at when you finally see the watch, like, nothing about that would have told me that this watch had a secret compartment. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just a circle on the back.
Yeah, and the definition of a secret compartment is that you shouldn't be able to just pick it up and go click, click. Oh, there it is.
It should be more hidden than that.
It should be secret.
One might say, yeah.
Mm.
So, Ger's like, what about the grave? And she's like, obviously, let's go. So they go back to the grave and they're both dressed like ninjas head to toe, wearing black leather and little black watchman's caps. Because, you know, you got to match. You got to do it stylistically, but whatever. So,
yeah.
They look like little cat burglars who are going to go sailing.
Did they pack that? Like, was that in their overnight
I like that
bag?
they just had that. Because, like, they are legitimately watchman's caps. Like, you don't own a watchman's cap unless you're a sailor or the family of a sailor. Like, you don't just own a watchman's cap. Like, it's such a weird, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a little knit cap and it's like too small. That's how you tell the watchman's cap is it looks like it's too small for anybody's head. Big head, small head, a watchman's cap is too small for you. It like sits above your ears. It's a little baby. It looks like a little condom. It's a little tiny, little just the tip hat. It's too small. So, they're wearing their matching all leather catsuit and watchman cap outfits. Why not? In my notes, I just wrote the word obviously. So they go to the guy's grave and Arlie Stubbs is already digging it back up, which I respect. I appreciate. So I like that Arlie was like, hey, this is the part of the graveyard full of murder rats. Nobody should be here. It's very dangerous. And then he immediately turns around and is like, but what if the old man was buried with some jewelry? Arlie's got to get in on that. And I was like, okay, sure. Everyone in this movie gets dumb when they have to get dumb and smart when they have to get smart. So he's digging, he's trying to pop open the guy's grave and he's talking to himself loudly about the jewelry he's looking for, just so that we know, like, he's not like finishing burying the guy. Like, we have to know for sure that this guy is like singing a song to himself about like pulling gold out of teeth. Like, it's so fucking much. So Ger sees him, throws a clump of dirt on him, like from behind, and the guy's like, what? It's like he's like a non-playable character in a video game. He's like, you throw a clump of dirt on him, the guy turns one way, and you like you hit the A button and you run the other way. So Garrick goes around the other side of the grave towards like where the front of Arlie's face will be in a second. The guy looks up and Garrick, full on Gers, he says hello in an Irish accent. He goes, I can't do an Irish accent. I'm not going to offend the people of Ireland. He goes, a hearty good evening to you, Mr. Stubbs, and hits him in the face with a crowbar.
A hearty good evening to you, Mr. Stubbs.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. All pissed off Irish people. That's Rachel who did that. That's Rachel. Please contact Rachel.
You're welcome. I can also be contacted for the Alberta accent that I did earlier.
No one from Alberta is listening to this. They're too drunk. Okay, so that's on me. People of Alberta, come at me. So
that was me.
Yeah. So, because if it's a Garrick performance, he's got to do at least one accent, like one time.
He's got to do a goofy accent.
He's got to hit it.
Yeah.
So he sees him and then crowbar to the face. Laura is horrified. And I'm like, this is the point where you get horrified? Like nothing, his weird giggling and drinking and let me ride the electric wheelchair to hell with your husband. That part, not scary. This part, you're like, I wonder about the man that I'm fucking. Oh, sure, Laura, whatever. So Ger jumps in the hole. He picks up the guy's corpse. He picks up Arlie's corpse. He like flops him over. He digs into the casket. He pops it open, and then he finds the old man's pocket watch. And Laura's like, hey, like make sure that the stuff is actually in there. So Ger turns it over, and yeah, immediately is like, oh, is this the mechanism? Boop boop, and like pops the back open. And there's the tiniest, I want to know if this is a real thing. Because it looks like the kind of film that you would put in a dollhouse if your dollhouse had a film developing like dark room. It is like it looks like film, like film strip. If you're young, I can't explain to you what film looks like. Yeah. It's brown and it's kind of clear, and you hold it up to the light and you can see a tiny image of your photo, and then you get your photo developed. It's film. You've seen movies. You know what film looks like. Don't pretend. So it's that, but microscopic, like the smallest little miniature
microfilm.
Yeah, microfilm. Yeah, but like I even said microfiche earlier, and like microfiche would be like 50 times the size of this. Like microfiche is like slide
it's
size.
Very small.
This is like the size of your pinky fingernail is how big that these little film strips are. So there's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're just wedged in the back of this guy's watch, which maybe that's a fine way to keep doll film. I don't know. So he sees it and Ger's like, yep, it's in there. And she's like, cool, great. Shoots him in the fucking face. And I was like, what? Fucking what? So, yeah, she shoots him twice in the face and I guess the belly, and he's like, and just dies immediately, which is a bummer because normally when we have a Ger death, first off, he dies and then doesn't die. He dies sort of the way Paul Rubens died in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. Do you remember? He's like, and you think he's dead. He like comes back up. He's like, one more. That's how Ger dies in a Ger death. Yes. Ger dies for 10 minutes every time he dies. Like that's, but this, I think he was like, I earned my ham, and he just collapses. So he's gone. So in the grave.
I'm tired. I'll take a nap now. Just glad he never has to interact with the rubber rats.
Yeah. Although he would have treated it, he would have gone full of Shakespeare. I like to believe.
Yeah, he would have.
He would have saved all of his acting acumen for the rubber rat scenes. So when we first pop open the lid of the coffin, when Ger is looking for the pocket watch, you see the corpse because the pocket watch is in the pocket of the suit of the dead man. We have seen this man. We have seen this actor who plays Roger. Like, we've seen him earlier in the movie. The thing in the coffin is not Roger. It's not a stunt double. It is a giant, creepy rubber puppet with a weird, mangly looking head. And you only see it for like half a second. When you see it, you cannot unsee it. This is the worst. This is like, do you remember in like I think it was the early 80s, they had that show that was like, it was like making fun of politics, but all the characters were Muppets, but they were rubber Muppets that looked like people. They looked like actual politicians, but all their heads were caricature heads. So they were all like extended and weird, distended in weird ways. That's what this looks like. It looks like a weird cartoon caricature rubber head where like none of the shapes are the same shapes as are on an actual human person's head. Like it looks like I don't know. It's really messed up looking. It's very fake looking. And if you only saw it for like the half second it's on screen, like maybe you don't notice. But if you look at it, if you like look away from Ger, you look at the face while Ger is rifling the pockets, it is fucked up. It is the corpse of a Muppet. It is wrong.
It was called Robbery Figures.
Is that what it was called?
Rubbery figures.
But I'm right? That it all looks like caricatures, but just like of actual politicians and stuff, but they're just creepy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had nightmares as a kid. Like, I don't think I ever watched that show, but I saw enough commercials to give me like very graphic, specific nightmares. Awful. So
Also one called Spitting Image.
Spitting Image. Spitting Image sounds familiar. I think that was maybe the one that was on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's horrible. But at least like in those shows, they were Muppet sized. Like they were like hand puppet sized. This is a man-sized rubber corpse with a jacked up head. It's bad. I don't like it. Like why couldn't they just have Roger, the actor who played Roger, just lie there for half a scene? That's all we needed. Just like, he's old. Put him in the hole. He's fine. No. So you see the face really quickly. Ger gets the pocket watch. She shoots him in the face. She jumps into the hole, and all of a sudden, the body starts inching into the side of the grave. Because what's going on, Rachel? The rat puppets. The rat puppets are dragging the rubber man corpse into the hole.
Yes.
Oh my God. So this is where I just lost it. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm fucking no more puppets.
And she
Ger.
just watches. She's like,
she is very slow. She is very fucking slow.
Like she just watches it. Like, get the fucking watch. Don't watch it slide. She's like, where's it going?
Ger had pulled it entirely away from the body and then placed it gently on top of the body. You could have grabbed it real quick, and really, it should have just fallen off the body while it's being dragged. Like those rats aren't that careful. Do you know what I mean? They weren't working to keep that watch in place. Yeah. But yeah, she was like watching, and she grabs the shoes, and then like the shoes come off the feet, and the guy's body just keeps going into the hole. So she crawls into the giant fucking hole, and I was like, bitch, no. However much money is in Switzerland, it is not worth whatever's going on here. So she's crawling into this hole, and this hole is big enough for her whole body. That is how big these rats are. They're making people-sized holes in the fucking ground. So when they said dog size, like they weren't like, these are like terrier-sized rubber rat puppets. So she's like, fuck it, I had to blow an old man and Ger and a wife beater, like I'm getting my money. So she's crawling in there. She has the gun still. She has the old man's gun with actual bullets in it, as far as I can tell, the real bullets. She is shooting at these rats. It's only pissing them off. And I was like, what kind of mutant? Is that why they look like they're made of rubber? Because they're some kind of mutant devil rat? Like, is this on like an ancient Indian burial ground and also on top of Chernobyl? Like, what the fuck is going on here? The movie doesn't care. It's not going to explain it. They're just giant rubber rats. So she is...
They are graveyard rats.
I guess that's a different species. So she is like elbow crawling through the muck and the shit and stuff into the grave. The rats are just dragging this giant... They're ignoring her. They're like, fuck it, this is our dinner. They're dragging this thing deeper and deeper and deeper into their warren. And she's like, I'm going to get the watch. So she's like, they're chewing on her. They're chewing on the corpse. When you cut to the rats that are pulling the old man, they're pulling him by the head. They have bitten onto his face. They're pulling him by the fucking face. And I was like, what?
Yeah, this is a moment because it's been kind of a slow burn. And then all of a sudden they're like, what if we had a giant rubber rat
grab the giant rubber
eat
head.
A dude's face? Yeah. Can we do that? And they were like, we could probably make that work.
We have this one guy named Frank. He's fine. Not busy. It's fine.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, I don't know if this was before we started recording. So I had looked up who had done the special effects for this because I was like, it feels kind of like a Jim Henson thing. No, it's a guy named Frank Carrera. He's done special effects stuff. If you like look him up on IMDb, he's done it for like 3 movies. This is one of the 3. I can see maybe why there were not 4 movies because everything is real fucked up to watch. It is upsetting. Not how the Trilogy of Terror wanted it to be upsetting. It's upsetting in like a weird uncanny valley because like face-wise, the rats look like real rats. I mean, they like the details are there. They've got little beady red eyes and like they got little teeth and little whiskers and they hiss and shit. But they're also clearly made of rubber. And when the rats move their mouths and stuff up and down, it's very much like a hand inside a rubber puppet where it deforms in ways that like don't look right. So it looks wrong in a way that I don't think the movie was like, yeah, this will make the audience unsettled, but it is very unsettling, like nonetheless. It's just weird. The rats are, again, like I said, they have like their teeth. The head rat has his teeth like in like the guy's nose and forehead and is dragging it down the fucking tunnel. And I was like, no, I don't like this. This is horrible. So he's dragging the rubber man, which like it would have been really funny if that was the actual like actor. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was the actor and then Frank Carrera with a rubber hand puppet dragging you by your nose, that would have been hilarious. This is just eerie. I don't like it. So he's dragging him. The rats are dragging the body down the hallway, then the tunnel, and they're going like left and right and left and right. And some of them are grabbing at her feet, and she's shooting at them, and the rats are not fazed. They do not care. So finally, she manages to grab the watch, and she's like, okay, I'm going to turn around. Well, the rats are like, bitch, that is not in the script. So the ones at the head of her are like, the ones behind her are like, double. And then she's like, oh, shit, I'm like stuck. She's trying to shoot them with the rest of her bullets. they're literally bouncing off the fucking rats. Like they're not even like hitting one and the rat like gets pissed off. Like they're doing nothing. They're just making little like smoke puffs, like nothing. So she ends up kind of spinning herself in a circle, which I don't understand how she manages to spin herself in a circle at all, or how rats get behind her, because it looks like it should be from the old man's grave, a straight shot forward down like a hallway. Like there's no left and there's no right. I don't know how they're getting behind her, because it's like it's really the size of her body, and maybe like you could stack two bodies on top of each other, and that's the whole size of this little tunnel that they made for her. But they're magic rats, the size of dogs. You don't need to know how they do what they do. So they're behind her and they're ahead of her, and she's like, "Fuck!" And somehow there's like a tunnel to the right. There's like a magic tunnel, and so she sees it with her little flashlight, and it looks like it's a grave, and she thinks that she's turned herself all the way around, and she's back at the husband's grave. She's like, "Okay, great." So she runs. She army crawls like down the tunnel, and she gets into the grave. Uh-oh, Rachel, it's somebody else's grave. And I guess this is the one time that like, and I guess this is the one time that like, so the rats took the body out, and I guess Arlie had already taken all the gold rings off the fingers and all the gold fillings out of the teeth, and then he had put the dirt back on top. So like she can't get out, because the top is the coffin lid and then solid dirt, because like you said, there's not the concrete box, it's just dirt. But she can't get out because it's like solid packed. And then the way behind her, here come all the rats. And so I feel like the movie could have cut to black there and I would have known how it ended. But no, they instead decided to give us like 4 minutes of rubber rat puppets violently eating this woman alive and scratching her while she screams. And then I was like, okay, now we're going to cut to black. Fucking no. So then we go like through the earth, basically. We're up above and we see the name on the gravestone, and it's like Anne something or Anna something. I have no, like, why is this a thing of significance that you decided to give us? Because it's not even like Anne Jones, 1987 to 1997. Like there's not, like, it's not a real gravestone. It's a fake gravestone with like a name that you can very clearly read when you can't read anything else in the whole movie. So I was like, I was like, is her name Anne? I was like, no, her name's Laura. Like, I was like, it feels like a thing the movie wanted us to see, and I have no idea why, but like she's in a different grave.
Yeah.
And then it pans over like 2 feet to the left, and 2 feet to the left is the original grave, and you see Ger slumped in there, and somehow the body of the gravedigger, I thought Ger had just dumped it in the grave next to the coffin, but I guess he had Superman vampire cop strength, and he flipped the guy out of the grave. So Arlie is lying like on the grass side, like up top, and he's all splayed. So he's splayed on the grass. Ger is splayed inside the hole. You can hear the woman screaming to death as she's eaten by rats under the ground. And then the movie cuts to black. And then the very next scene, so when it starts the Bobby episode, it starts with a car driving. And it looked so similar to things that we'd seen like in the first, like it's filmed the very same way as in the first segment. So I was like, oh, this is continuing the story. This is like, I don't know, the lawyer he's like, I haven't heard from the wife in a while, the widow. Let me like I'm going to go to the gravestone, the graveyard for whatever reason, and I'll like find the corpses. No, next movie, just fucking end, over, done. And I was like, what? Like, I love how the movie doesn't even, like, it somehow was too long and too short. Like, I don't, like, how are you both? How are you somehow, like, you lingered too long, and then you made me think that, like, more was gonna happen, and then more did not happen. And I just, I hated this. I hated this so fucking much. I didn't hate it the way American Psycho 2 : All American Girl. Like, it didn't make me want to, like, rip out my eyelashes, but it was like, I was like, what is the point of any of this?
Terror. What was the point of any of this? Just to be a horror movie?
See, this is why I don't, like, horror movies are not for me. Because I feel like I want everything to be like a beautiful Lego brick that leads to another beautiful Lego brick. And I feel like in the horror movies I've seen, and admittedly, like, I'm not a horror movie connoisseur, I haven't seen that many, but the ones that I've ended up seeing, I feel like they throw bricks in your fucking face and you're like, is this brick important? And they're like, no. Yeah. And then they're like, look over here. We've like laid the bricks to lead you over in this direction. And I'm like, have you? Because there's like great big gaps between all these fucking Lego bricks. They're not even like touching each other. If I breathe on it, they're all going to collapse. And then they're like, aha, we misled you. It's these Lego bricks over here. I'm like, those Lego bricks were never even introduced at any point previously in this movie. Like you just pulled one directly out of your butthole and went, there you go. There's a Lego brick for you.
I feel you're probably not you're a psychological horror fan, maybe. but not like a horror fan. Like I didn't mind American Psycho 2. I thought it was fine. Like I don't think it's a great movie, but it's a serviceable horror movie. This was fine. I didn't love it. I wouldn't sit down and be like, damn, I really wish I could watch Trilogy of Terror 2 again at any point ever in my life. But like it's I don't know, horror movies are vibes. You just gotta vibe with it.
That's my problem. Is like I can't. I feel like
it's if you can't turn it off and just vibe, it's hard. If you're like, what? This doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. But it's
I can do it.
I don't know, shitty people getting shitty stuff done to them.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of this. Yeah, basically. Bad people and bad things happen to them. Like enjoy it. I feel like I know you didn't like this movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once. When I saw that, like if you asked me to explain to you like the mechanics of what's going on, I'm like, I can't. I can't. But like I enjoyed that one like as a vibe. And like I was like, okay, like I get where you're trying to get me to go, even if I sat down and really tried to understand the mechanics of the like multiverse thing, I would be flummoxed. I would have no idea how to do it. But like I get the vibe you want me to get. But for whatever reason, in horror movies, I think it's because in Everywhere All at Once, it doesn't need me to understand the mechanics of like traveling through time and space, whatever. But I feel like in a horror movie, you're underneath it all, you're telling me a story. You're telling me a story that has like that's supposed to like I'm supposed to be able to understand what happened. And I feel like there's a way to tell me a story and have a twist. Like in novels, you do this all the time. You have a story, there's a twist, but I can see afterwards how you seeded the twist in there and how the twist still makes sense. But I feel like in a lot of horror movies, they just throw shit at your face and they go, aha, I surprised you. And I'm like, yeah, but like you told me you were building a wall of Lego bricks and you just took a bigger Lego brick and you whipped it into my fucking eye. I guess that was surprising, but it wasn't really satisfying in the way that like a nicely like a built wall that like turned in a way I didn't expect it to turn, that would have been surprising.
Right. So yeah, you're describing psychological horror. So like Frailty is a good psychological horror movie. And you would probably really enjoy it. It's not super gory. But it's a very like it's a vibe movie until the twist, and then you're like, oh shit, that was really good.
Okay, I'll have to try that one.
But I feel like there's a lot of movies like Mandy, for example. The bad thing in Mandy happens at the very beginning, and then the rest of it is just you being on the journey with the guy, and that's it.
Well, I mean, if it like makes sense, like that's all I'm asking for. I feel like it sounds like I'm asking for more than what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for like the pieces to line up in a way that like makes actual sense. Like this Trilogy of Terror, like at least this one section makes sense. I mean, I would argue that at least two of the three sections. I don't remember how like the little devil doll part, like I don't remember like the nitty gritty of it. But at least this section and the middle section with the demon that looks like the boy, I feel like those, like, I can explain to you what happened and I understand what happened and like it generally makes sense, even if like the world is a little bit shaky. I can at least kind of, I know what the story is. I feel like my problem with horror movies in general is that like if I try to explain to you what the story is, I go, but wait, is this guy the killer, or is his mom the killer, or was his mom pretending to be him, or was he possessed by the ghost of his mom? Like if I can't even tell you like what actually happened, then I get like pissed off. This was just like kind of simple and kind of dumb. And like, I'm a little confused about how Swiss bank accounts work, but that's not really the fault of the movie. It's more the fault of, I don't know how Swiss bank accounts work.
Have you ever seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
I have not.
Yeah, that would be a good one for you to watch because it's a very like self-referential horror movie where you're really making fun of exactly what you're talking about, which is how horror movies have a very thinly veiled plot and it is literally just an excuse to give you a series of experiences.
Yeah, which is fine.
And that is what that movie is all. And it's funny because it's aware that is what normally happens. Like there's a scene where Tucker and Dale are like, they're not hillbillies, but in the movie they're hillbillies, just go with it. And so they buy this cabin. And so they go to the cabin, and the cabin is like tumble down, like horror movie cabin.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Cabin in the Woods. Got it.
And they get there and they're like, oh my God. And he goes, I know, it's beautiful. And then they like go in the cabin and there's a wall of nothing but newspaper clippings that are all like serial killer newspaper clippings. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah.
Died in a fire, like whatever, like a trophy thing of newspaper clippings. And they walk over and the one guy goes, oh my God. And the other goes, I know, they left this coupon here and there's no expiration date. And it's like a coupon on the little article. And it's this wonderful inversion of all of like, here's the signposts. I know we're going down this road for horror.
Okay, that sounds kind of fun actually.
But
I'll try it.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's a good movie because it's one of those like self-aware, I'm telling you, I know that we don't normally have a plot and like that's the point. And so let's be funny about it. Characters.
Yeah. I'm okay too, even if it's like a movie that doesn't have a plot. Like, you know, like you'll read some novels and it's not like, there's not like a story. It's just sort of like, I'm just telling you who this person is. I'm just focusing on the character development. Yeah. That's fine. But I feel like with horror movies, at least like the ones that I've seen, they're like, no, like there is a story here. Like it's about, there's a serial killer or there's a demon or there's there's like a story. And they're like, I'm going to reveal the story to you like throughout the thing. Like I'm going to tell you like, and there's going to be a twist. And then you're going to be like, oh, here's what really happened. But like the parts of the story don't fucking make sense. And then I get like American Psycho 2 when we watched it. And I was like, but wait, this doesn't make sense. Like her whole thing where she's like, how do I plan for when I get sloppy? And I'm like, you just don't get sloppy. That's how you like, what do you mean you plan for when you like, everyone has to have a sloppy moment. And so you're planning for your sloppy moment. Like I need to outsmart everybody. And I'm doing that by leaving bodies in the library in the middle of the fucking day and walking out covered in blood. Like no one will catch me. Like where you're like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any kind of sense. Like it's just throwing shit at me and going, yeah, no, it's part of the story. And I'm like, no, it's not. This had a story. I just thought it was kind of dumb and frustrating. And then when we got to the rubber rats, I was like, whatever. And everyone acts in this so goddamn big. I never think Ger's phoning it in. Like I always enjoy a Ger performance. This made my skin crawl off my body.
It felt a little phoned in. It did. It felt a little phoned in.
Yeah, it felt a lot phoned in.
And he was getting ready to go back to season 3 Forever Night. He was just filling the time.
He's like, I got an hour. Yeah, I can pound this out. I got it.
That's fine, man. It's fine.
Yeah, or maybe he had just finished Forever Night, and he's like, yeah, I could do something for like 20 minutes before I go to Bali and hang out with the tigers. So, yeah. I will say that this is another one where it made me think very fondly to Fred Mullen. Hey, Fred Mullen, what up? Because this. Like they have a little bit of music. Like it's not like Airwolf where it's all like MIDI files, like robot MIDI files, but it's all like dramatic dun 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 music. Or at the very beginning, the first scene that we have, the one where Ger's lying on the bed like a 16-year-old girl, there's this weird high-pitched noise in the background that I don't think is like a problem with my DVD. Like I think it's meant to be sort of part of the background music because it's this high-pitched like scream noise that turns into music kind of. It's like music and screaming. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh shit, it's in my brain. Like it's stabbing my brain. Why is it doing this to me? Like, so just like, thank you, Fred Mullen, for giving us actual songs and like actual background music instead of going, what if I throw my cat at the keyboard and then spray my cat with a hose and whatever noises come out of it, that's what I'll use in the background of this movie. So like, thanks, Fred Mullen. I'm sorry. I rate everything. I liked Deadly Harvest more than this. I liked Ikwe more than this. I liked this more than American Psycho 2 because, like I said, that one felt like getting slapped in the face with a dick, and I stand by that. But like this is right next to it because I'm just like the whole time I was like, why are you so like the whole time I was like, sir, you have done Shakespeare. You have done Shakespeare in Washington D.C. You met Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like you are like the king of the Stratford Festival.
Woohoo.
Yeah. You are King Shakespeare. You were like, I know that he like does not seem to enjoy being associated with Forever
fine.
Knight.
Sometimes you got to pay
No,
the
I know.
bills.
I'm only a little bit joking when I'm saying I hope he got paid lots of ham. I hope he got all the ham he required from acting in this. But like when you're watching something and you're like, I know you're better than this, and I want other people to know how good you are and what an amazing actor. Like you did 25 minutes on Murdoch Mysteries where you teared up over your dying wife. Like where you were so emotionally overcome. And like that's another goofy program. I mean, Murdoch Mysteries, it's less goofy than this because goddamn. But like it's it's not trying for like hard hitting like HBO drama. Like it's the Murdoch Mystery. Like like it's just it's cute. It's like
Right.
And you showed up and you were like, oh, did you want emotion? Hold my ham sandwich. Here I go. And you just like nailed it right down the center of the camera and you made us feel something. And or like when you showed up in Frankie Drank Mysteries the last 12 seconds of the show, and you were like, I got a hot mom that wants to fuck. Nailed it. I got some mysteries. I got that too. You want an emotional moment with my daughter who hasn't seen me since she was 6? Hold your dicks, everybody. Like, here I go. And you just like, you blew that down the center of the camera. Like, I want people, you do such a good job and I want you to be in good things. And I want people to know what an amazing actor you are and to see the good things that you're in and to like, to see this amazing career. And I feel like the last 3 weeks I've been like, all right, here's some shit. Here's some more shit. Like I just.
Well, we're in the doldrums. It's fine. We'll
come out again.
We'll break through it. Yeah. And then we'll come across, eventually we're going to do Forever Night, and that's going to be like a 5-hour long episode of us just going. And then this is my favorite episode where we did this thing. It's coming. It's coming. And I'm so excited. I'm going to give this, I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 raised eyebrows.
Because there were so many characteristics.
Because I felt like he really packed a lot of characteristics into not a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
He had a sex scene where he was a never nude, which is literally the most Ger combination possible on the planet. He kissed a woman into agreeing with him.
Patented Ger move. And every time he kisses, anytime he kisses or gets near the woman, near Lizette Anthony, he's got 2 hands suction cupped on either side of her face, like holding the head in place so that he can do the full-on Ger nose to clavicle kiss zone, the strike zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
No raised eyebrows as far as I can tell. Tie, that shows he's evil because at the funeral he's wearing a tie.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a couple moments where he's in on the joke. Like when he's laying on the bed and he's on his stomach and then he drinks the beer bottle. That feels very like, here we fucking go. Here we fucking go.
He is so big in this that I can't tell. Because I feel like normally when he's in on the joke, he's putting in the effort to act, but he's doing the like one eyebrow raise of what the fuck? What is going on? What's going on here? All right. Okay. Nope. I'm acting. I'm doing this. But also like, oh, holy shit. But like, this was just like circus big. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Okay. I don't, all right. You're committing to the bit so hard that like, it feels like you don't know it's a bit anymore. Like you've transcended, you've gone full circle. You've gone all the way.
He doesn't have a weird mom, but he does have to dig up a grave.
Which is a characteristic. Well, there's that. Someone who wants to be buried in an inconvenient place to him. It does feel like a very specific characteristic.
The yada yada part of the plot. How do you know that there's a secret compartment? I just do.
So, accent work because he has to throw in one.
Yep, he does.
Although I will say that like his character is so big this entire episode that there were times when I was like, is he doing a voice? And I was like, no, he's not. He's just doing the big, insane, like Harlequin clown laugh. But then like there'd be other times when he's talking and I was like, that's his real voice. Is it his real voice? Like I was doubting I watched him in 4,000 hours of content and I was like, is that his voice? What? Like it melted my fucking brain. I will also say that puppets that make me personally uncomfortable is becoming a characteristic and I don't like it. I do not like it.
Yeah, no, this is the 3rd time we have had shitty puppets, which is weird that it's happened 3 times.
3 times too many. Because it's not even like, I feel like, okay, so we've got Puppets Who Kill, which was what, early 2000s, if I remember right? We've got this, which is 96, and then we've got Murdoch Mysteries, which is 2008-ish, 7, 8-ish. I feel like if all of them were closer in time, I'd be like, oh, this was an 80s thing. This was a 90s thing. It's weird that they're so spread out.
Yeah.
Like, I have never, on my own, not for this podcast, been watching TV and a weird fucking puppet popped up since I've been an adult. That has never happened to me. I have never been surprised by a puppet. But in Ger Can Get It, I've been surprised thrisely by horrifying puppets. I don't like it. I don't support it. I'm not a fan of it. Like, I guess if I had to choose, they're all so gross. I don't know which one is the least horrifying. There's the ventriloquist dummy with the weird fucked up milky eye.
He's my least
There's
favorite.
The teddy bear who gets a blowjob under his tiny gardener's apron. And then there's the giant terrier-sized rubber rats, and I'm like, fuck, if I had to, like, I'm almost picking, I'm gonna pick the teddy bear who gets the blowjob as the least upsetting for me, and I was deeply upset by teddy bear blowjob. Like, I did not. There's a reason that episode is 22 minutes long, because I was like, I can't talk about this anymore. I cannot. It was watching Kristen Lehman, watching her lift up that little flap. It was, who wrote that? Why would you write that? Why? I
don't know.
Like, and that was less upsetting to me than like weird rubber Muppet rats. Cause like they just bummed me out. Like, they just bummed me out. So, okay. Yeah. So there were lots of characteristics in this. There were lots and lots. I know every week I'm like, I chose the wrong pathway, and the pathway that I chose was enjoyability. So I rate it on a scale of 10 sloppy wet kisses. Fuck me. I will give this, God, I hate those rubber rats so much. I'm going to give it 2.5 sloppy wet kisses. And I'm going to be honest, like, two of the 2.5 is just me going, I like you, sir, and I'm glad you got paid for this, and I'm glad that it probably took you like an hour and a half to film all this, and they let you wear your personal sunglasses because you seem to like them and they look real nice on you. So I'm glad you got to kiss a British lady. Do it. And I will say that Lizette Anthony, her American accent, I did not realize that she was British the whole time. Her American accent is very, very good. And I'm glad that
it is. Yeah.
I'm glad that she got to be in better things after this. Like, I'm glad that this is not her career defining moment. I would watch her in other, like, I liked her so much in Dracula Dead and Loving It. I never knew who she was. I had no context for who this actress was. So, like, I would watch more things with her in it. I am, like, the Wikipedia page had like 400 things that she's been in. She's been in a ton of stuff. I would watch more with her. I like her. I think she deserves to be known for other things. Like, and I will go and watch those other things, and I will remember her, and she's not dead. I will know her for these other things that she's been in. But like, fuck me. This was, why was it a Blu-ray, Rachel? Why is there a Blu-ray version of this? Why were they like, this deserves the high def.
Where's my Forever Night Blu-ray?
Fuck. Sir, we suffer for you. I need you to know this.
Sometimes.
There is no way that your family has watched all this shit. I'm just telling you, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, we have suffered so much. Our friendship strains for what we have put through for this. Okay, don't buy this movie, you guys. Don't watch this movie. There's not even any good butts. The sex scene is weird. There's rubber rats. Don't save your pennies. Just don't do it. I got nothing else to say on it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So until next time, friends.
Don't get eaten by a rubber rat. Bye.
Bye.